And now it's time for another hour with RoadWorthy Drive.
Hey everybody, Ken Chester here, RoadWorthy Drive, coming at you from the RoadWorthy Drive studios here on YouTube Live. In studio, of course, as always, is our crack engineer, Jack, our social media maven, Sasha, and myself. We've got another information-packed hour for you. In breaking news, we're going to introduce you, believe it or not, and you knew this was coming. 2019 electric school bus, yeah, it's a thing. And they're actually building it, and they're going to be selling it. We're going to introduce you to Nissan's latest concept, which is an autonomous electric SUV. And it's got some exciting features. In our topics of discussion, we're going to talk about electricity, but not the way you think. Electric roads and electric paint. And then we're going to talk about all things Tesla. It's time for a Tesla update. We're going to talk about everything from the Model 3 problems to the new truck to even a surprise that Elon Musk inserted in there of a brand new Tesla Roadster concept that they're looking to debut in 2020. All that and the usual hijinks and mayhem that goes on as we try to produce this show right here at RoadWorthy Drive. So glad you could be with us. Buckle up. You ready, Jack?
I was born ready.
I'm on with it. 11 minutes. First segment.
Here we go. Oopsie, wrong one.
Yeah, that would help have the right one there.
Yep. Take two.
Until you want to go faster, yeah!
It's time for RoadWorthy Drive with Ken Chester. Ken is a nationally syndicated automotive journalist and photographer who has been in and around the industry for over 30 years. So tune in for your fill of automotive information and entertainment with your automotive ringmaster, Ken Chester.
This is the time, and this is the place. Welcome to RoadWorthy Drive. I am so glad you could join me for this hour. I'm your host, Ken Chester. As always, I have plenty to share with you in this information-packed hour of discovery, so let's get to it. In a few minutes, I want to introduce you to an electric school bus that is set to debut in 2019, but you really knew this was coming. Also, during breaking news, Nissan has introduced an interesting autonomous electric SUV concept. Now, during the second segment, I'm going to continue this conversation, but it's going to be about electricity as it pertains to roads and paint. You're not going to want to miss that. Yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff. Later in the program, it's all about Tesla. The good, the bad, and, yeah, the ugly. I got you covered. Now, we here at RoadWorthy Drive are all about being safe while the program is underway and at speed. The gentleman with his eye on the speedometer and the hands on the controls is my good friend and RoadWorthy Drive executive producer, Jack DeLeon. Hey there, Jack.
Hi, Ken. How are you?
Good. You said you were born ready, sir.
Yes, I did.
That's a good thing, because I'd hate for you to be unready.
Okay, now, full disclosure here. To put myself through college, all those many years ago, it's almost been 30, but we're not going to tell anybody.
Okay. Your secret's safe with me.
I used to drive a school bus.
Really?
Perfect job for a college kid.
Dealing with somebody else's, do I dare say it?
Children, yes.
Children.
However,
that's the word I was looking for.
However,
children.
I will tell you something. Most of the time, it was the parents you had to worry about and not the kids.
Okay.
But anyway, I used to drive a school bus. So this first story we're going to talk about really interests me. An electric school bus by 2019. Give me the details before I go off on this.
An electric school bus. It's basically from Daimler's Thomas-built buses subsidiary. It's based on a safety liner chassis.
Yep.
And they're going to build it with a battery pack ranging anywhere from 60 kilowatt hours to, you could add more, all the way up to 160. Now, let's see. Let me read this here. They are actually, let me get the details so I can tell it to you right. They nicknamed it Jolly. That's spelled Jouley, named after the Joule unit of energy. It's a safety liner C2 electric bus.
Okay.
They think it would take 8 hours average charge time. Vehicle performance is on par with a conventional bus. And it has an up to 100-mile operating range with option for longer range with additional battery packs. Now, here's the thing. This is not a hybrid.
This is straight electric.
This is what we call a pure electric.
Okay, now, knowing school buses like I did, and full disclosure, I did buy several Thomases in the time that I ran the bus program.
Oh, my.
Okay. Now, where are they storing the batteries?
They didn't get into that, but I would have to think under the floor.
That would probably be my guess.
I mean, considering the number of batteries you need for the weight of the vehicle, you're not going to put them in the engine. You don't have the room.
Well,
You stack them under the floor. Now, the one thing they did say, specialized battery packaging for increased safety. Translation, hit-proof.
Yeah.
Leak-proof.
Yep.
It would have to be both. Zero emissions. Top speed, 65 miles an hour. It would scare me to see a school bus going that fast.
You see it all the time.
Yeah, like I said, it scares me, though. Now, interstate is one thing.
That's the place where I've seen it on the
Okay,
interstate. Full
two-lane.
disclosure.
Yeah, okay. Two-lane, something completely different. No transmission, so no need to shift. And here you go, Jack. Here's your performance number. 0 to 60. How long?
26,000 pounds for the bus fully loaded. I'm going to say 5 seconds.
No. 45. 13 tons, even with electric, it takes a little bit to move it.
Okay.
You know. Like we said earlier, full charge in less than 8 hours with standard chargers. And then they add in some goodies. Telemetric system provides real-time fleet tracking, management, and vehicle diagnostics with over-the-air software updates. As somebody once said here on this show, what could possibly go wrong?
That would have been me.
Yeah. Now, their whole point, reduced cost of fuel, electricity is, the lowest and most stable operating cost of any fuel. Simpler design, which we've talked about in this show, an electric power plant, fewer moving parts, fewer parts total. No fluids, no belts, none of that foolishness. So you lower your maintenance costs.
You lower it considerably.
Yeah, because theoretically, there's no maintenance, really. So you got that going on. Now, some of the more interesting things that they talked about this thing. Integrated exportable power enables the transfer of stored energy on board the bus for use in vehicle-to-grid operations, meaning the bus can feed the grid.
Which means the school district is going to get some money back.
Very well could, particularly in smaller school districts. Here's an opportunity, at the very least, to lower your costs, and at the most, to make a little money.
Well, and that's the one thing that I guess with your 100-mile limit on it, most of the country school buses are going more than 100 miles a day or even a shift.
Really? For their routes?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And some of the cities are going that way too.
Well, here's the thing. They mentioned it, and they didn't say if the 100 miles was with the original battery pack or with the extended battery pack.
Okay.
So theoretically, I have to say the way this was written, that was with the 65 kilowatt-hour battery pack. But
So-
you can go all the way up to 160. So I would think that you could probably get higher mileage.
No.
So there's
I'm
that.
about to say you're going to have to.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Like they said, should operators need more range, they can add another battery pack. So there you go. But here's another cool thing. It's equipped with both 120-volt and USB charging ports for laptops and cell phones, an obvious must for students nowadays. Boy, that takes the excuse away. Mom, my cell phone died on the way home from school. I couldn't call you. Yeah.
I hope my girls
Busted.
are listening.
Busted. I'm just saying.
I'm just waiting for the one where the kid walks into the bus and it automatically starts charging.
Yeah, well, that may come someday too. They're talking that the company implied that it might one day serve as a Tesla Powerwall type device that could say backup power for a school or even a neighborhood. So they're expecting to do this, and they're going to do it, and that should be one really interesting thing. Let's talk about Nissan for a minute. I'm going to go to something of a different color. They're showing the IMX, that's capital I, capital M, small x, an all-electric crossover concept that promises enough range for a road trip. That's 373 miles of range, 429 horsepower, and fully autonomous. And, fully electric.
Okay.
That is a nice-looking ride.
Mm-hmm. They said that it uses a future generation version of Nissan's ProPilot, which, by the way, is available in the 2018 Leaf, for a mix of human and machine driving. The drive mode lets the driver seamlessly switch from the ProPilot autonomous mode to manual driving. When the car takes over under ProPilot, the steering wheel retracts into the dash and the seats recline to create a roomier, comfier cabin. We've actually seen this in a commercial already.
What?
Oh, they actually have it in a commercial?
Cisco showed a commercial a number of years ago. Guy driving, he said a word, and the steering wheel folded right in the dash. Technology people.
Oh, by the way, can somebody, not somebody, Ken, would you please show me the picture of this thing?
I'll have to do that. What, of the current one?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I got it right here. It's right there. This thing. There you go.
Yeah, you're right. It is a nice
Isn't
looking
that
car.
nice?
Yeah.
It's a nice looking
But
car.
here's the thing. Nissan being one now, I got ahead of myself. Let me back up. The IMX can drop the driver off from ProPilot mode and proceed to a charging station, managing the charging process to top off the battery and pump back into the grid as demands fluctuate autonomously. Somebody.
So it goes through traffic,
Mm-hmm.
goes to its own charging station.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we're saying charging station,
Mm-hmm.
obviously the charging station would also have to be autonomous because
Yep.
right now you actually have to
Yep.
plug it in.
Yep.
Okay.
And depending, either takes power or provides power. And we talked about this here too. Overseas, pilot program with Nissan vehicles that are actually providing power back into the grid, and their owners were making money.
Right.
We actually talked about
we
that
talked
in
about
another
that a
one.
while ago.
Yeah, that was a pilot project. So this stuff is happening, people, for real. Now, the IMX is designed to create a more open, seamless connection between interior and exterior, wide B-pillar-free openings at the sides, and a generous glass house and transparent roof. My problem is, without a B-pillar, you've got a risk of side impact accident.
Right.
And right now, at federal safety standards, would not pass. So food for thought on that. When we come back next, we're going to talk electric roads and electric paint. What? Yeah, electric
Okay.
paint.
Like I said, I got questions about the electric paint.
We'll talk about that later. Tesla's production hell and autonomous vehicle updates. You are listening to Roadworthy Drive.
Do you have a question, idea, or comment for Ken? You can let him know by calling 872-888-9793. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Leave Ken a voicemail message or a text.
We'll have to fix that one.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, that one's 14 seconds.
Yeah, but the phone number's wrong.
Oh. Sorry.
Now,
Yes.
my thing is with this Nissan, okay?
Mhm.
I understand that they've got the technology now that they're saying that the steering wheel will actually fold up and go in, put itself away.
Mm.
Right now, as laws state, though, is that legal in the U.S.?
Okay, here's the thing.
Or is this just for a concept?
This
like
is a concept. This is not a production vehicle.
Okay.
Let's be plain. Concept.
Okay.
Tokyo Motor Show.
All right.
I believe last month. But the thing is, this is what's coming. And the automakers, Mercedes showed their Vision 2030 concept. They're moving beyond interiors where you have a steering wheel.
Right,
And there's
right.
imagining now what would mobility look like in a vehicle without the driver's stuff, the steering wheel, shifter, brakes, gas pedal.
Well, we did earlier on in the year, we did a whole thing about autonomous. And remember those pictures from like the 1970s where it showed the family all sitting around in what was like
And actually,
a
that
mobility.
was the 60s. But that's
60s,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But it was like a mobility pod, for lack of a better word, where they were all just sitting around a table as the car was going down the highway, doing whatever. So, I mean, the whole premise of removing the driver's, the driving tools, I guess, is not new. But the fact that it's actually going on, like that was a drawing. It wasn't an actual.
It was a concept. It was imagination.
Yes.
But then again, they've been looking at trying to do autonomous cars since the 50s.
Right.
There's a Buff magazine I ran across, late 1958, that showed the technology at the time, which filled a trunk, a 1950s car trunk,
Right.
full of electrical and mechanical devices, to drive an autonomous 1958 Chevy Impala.
Didn't they do that on like a? They did that whole. They used that in like a series. It was a sitcom or
That I don't know.
on something to do with spyware, and that they their car.
Are you talking about Kit?
No,
Knight Rider?
No,
Oh, well,
stop.
I'm just saying.
Knight Rider.
I'm just saying.
Okay,
You know,
since
back
we're on,
when
You
you
know,
were little.
if you want, I can find a Knight Rider theme.
yeah, can we do that?
Oh,
Not right
But
now.
can
We got to go.
But on a serious note, though.
what am I getting? I was.
Okay.
Well, you're getting that because we got the mics on so they can hear us.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's how that works. It's exactly how that works.
Oh.
Yeah.
Geico
yeah.
commercial. That's not exactly how that works. But that's okay.
But can we get a Kit vehicle now? I mean, those of us that love the show, watch the show, can I get one now?
I don't think so.
If you're willing to pay the money,
I mean,
I'm sure somebody would equip a 1985 Pontiac Grand Am.
thank you. Thank you.
With voice.
With the voice.
With
I
the
need the
voice.
voice and
It'd
the
be-
lights that, when he was talking.
That could be a
Jack,
little bit of
In
that
fact,
could
I
be a
think
little bit of a
somebody
trouble.
actually did a custom of that.
Yep.
Jack,
Yes.
we need to start a GoFundMe page so that way
Oh,
Sasha
no.
can have a Kit.
You can
Mobile.
start that on your own.
No,
I
I
know
think
that's
that.
right. You on your own,
My
sis.
dog ain't in that fight.
No. Okay, we're 9 minutes.
We're 9 minutes.
And you've got
I'm ready.
that queued.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's do it, people.
Okay.
Throughout the world, other car manufacturers are eager to study our Volvos. Not only because Volvo is famous for its safety innovation, but also for its quality of design that makes Volvo outlast the competition. This is the strength that makes Volvo the luxury car for people who think.
If you're just tuning in, welcome to RoadWorthy Drive. I'm Ken Chester. Now, for this segment, I thought I'd wander off, just off the beaten path, a little bit into the weeds, not much, to share some novel tech that's going to impact your life in the next 10 years or so. Just as electricity first changed the world in so many ways, and still is, these next two items promise to take things to the next level. Now, the argument is, with the first one, is that trucks, obviously, are bigger polluters than cars. I don't think anybody here would argue with that, right?
There's
I
no
would
argument.
argue, but we would be wrong.
And this train of thought, the way they're going, is they believe that electric batteries are not the answer because of their weight.
Okay, we've talked about that before because of the semi-trucks, and that's all about weight and what they can pull.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to talk about this, and then I'm going to wander back. I'm going to round back because I need to make a point.
Okay.
But in this case, they're saying, don't electrify the trucks. Electrify the roads. It's called an e-highway, and its creator at Siemens, the Electrification, Automation, and Digitization Multinational, I think that's how you pronounce that, tell this particular news outlet that it can considerably lessen highway emissions. Now, here's my issue. Got two issues with that before I even go any further. One, they're not talking about electrifying the road itself per se.
Okay.
They're talking about using a variation of technology that was common in America 100 years ago.
Okay, what are we talking about?
Electrified streetcar. You had the catenary and the pantograph and
Right, you had the
reached
wires
up to
running
get the
up and
wires. That's what they're talking about.
Okay.
Now, my problem is their 1 mile that they did near Long Beach,
How much did it cost?
$13.5 million.
That's not going to work.
You think? Here's my other problem. That's not the only way to go. Right now, at Long Beach right now, Toyota is fooling with hydrogen. They're testing it. They've got a vehicle in service, has been for months, down there running around, powered on hydrogen.
Are you talking about the one that pulls the...
Yeah,
The,
drayage. Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. So, Siemens, yeah, that's nice, but yeah, I got a problem. What is old is new again, is what they're talking about. And they even say it. The road setup would be familiar to anyone who's seen a trolley or streetcar trundle through a city. specially designed by trucks running underneath electric lines, each equipped with an instrument called a pantograph. Again, that's what the streetcars had. That makes connections to the lines and draws power to propel the vehicle. Right now, they're evaluating 3 trucks, a battery electric, natural gas, and electric hybrid, and a diesel hybrid. And that 1 mile road cost $13.5 million to build. Here's my issue. They think if they could apply this to some, and their number, 164,000 miles of highway in the United States. I'll do the math for you, Jack. They figured it'd lower it to $5 million a mile. That's still $80 billion.
That's a lot of money.
You think? 1, that's not happening. 2, that's who's going to pay for that? The American taxpayer? I don't think we should, because that benefits truck companies. If you're going to do that, then you need to subsidize the railroads. The railroads have built theirs out of pocket with no government help.
Exactly, but as soon as you do that, then it's going to ultimately come back to us, the consumer.
It always does. You know, now their argument is that this would alleviate the rail traffic overburden. I'm a rail fan. Railroads ain't that overburdened.
I was going to say, how in the world can the railroads be overburdened?
Well, without getting into the weeds, the railroad's problem is not real estate, it's traffic management. And it depends on the railroad, you know, and they're working through it. That's just better management, not necessarily more lines. But that's their plan. To get into the other thing, and I've got issues with that. It sounds like a company looking for financing for their solution, which
Correct.
I don't think is the most profitable one. It's electrifying paint that becomes conductive when it dries. Can you imagine a paint that if you paint a wall connected to an electric source, you come in, touch the wall, turns on the light? Yeah, this stuff is being made right now. Electric paint or paintable wire, which can be applied to paper, wood, cement, textiles, and amongst other materials. My thing, and the reason why I brought this up, roads, somebody, if you could paint a road, and this paint is so thin, and mix it with graphene, we're going to talk about graphene in a second here, and you can connect it. It's so thin and transparent, you could literally put it down and wear it forever. And yet, with just the same way you sit in a car now and you've got conductive, how you charge your cell phones without plugging them in, imagine if you could do that for vehicles, trucks even.
Well, that would make more sense to me.
And way cheaper. Way cheaper. And the best part about this stuff is mixed with graphene, it seals, it protects, and the paint itself will last 100 years.
Wow, even with that kind of wear on a road.
100 years.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, now, it's phenomenal. It's going on in Great Britain right now. But the fact that you have this paint that could literally give you free electricity, can you imagine painting your house with it? Where you could absorb solar energy and other types of energy and turn it into electricity that will power your house. With no solar panels needed. Figure that one out.
Well, that would be nice.
And it would allow your house to breathe, but yet keep it protected. So the stuff that needs to stay out stays out, but you don't choke to death because you've got an airtight house that doesn't breathe.
Well, and that's one of the biggest problems in construction right now is that they're making the houses so tight they can't breathe.
Exactly. So, and again, the reason why I bring this up is that it literally lends itself to an answer for the problem is, okay, we're looking for extended range, particularly with trucks. You paint maybe 5 miles, 10 miles, whatever it is, you know, in a special thing, or even a special lane if you had to. The trucks run down it and you know, conductively get charged as they roll. They never have to stop. And if you do it every, I don't know, 100 miles, 150 miles, it couldn't cost that much. Because, like I said, they're selling this as household paint right now in England. This is happening now.
Oh, this is over in England.
Yeah, this paint, it does exist right now.
And they have not brought it over here yet.
They haven't, and more importantly, nobody's adapted it for roads yet. And I think that is just a solution begging for somebody to investigate.
That would make the most sense, though.
Yeah. Now, that's not to say that somebody hasn't. It's
Right.
just right now nobody's reporting it. But I'm telling you, it'd be almost one thing I'd want to bring up to somebody. Say, hey, here's a way to do something. All right, coming up, all things Tesla, Model 3 production hell and autonomous vehicle upgrades, and later, more things Tesla, an electric semi and a brand new Roadster. Now don't touch that dial. This is Roadworthy Drive.
You're listening to Roadworthy Drive with Ken Chester on the Roadworthy Drive Radio Network.
Of graphene for the
Kind of threw that
for the
out.
light.
I
light
threw that
switch?
out there a little bit. You know, graphene is strong.
Yep.
It's thin
Yep.
and mixed with limestone, with lime,
Yep.
makes a hell of a paint.
Yes, it does.
So you've got this going on, and the only thing I'm thinking is, you know, somebody somewhere needs to look at this combination and paint a road. And here's the killer. If it conducts solar electricity,
Mm-hmm.
meaning you don't need an exterior source to power it,
No.
and these trucks could just go across and be recharged in real time, you know, and theoretically, because of the way the paint wears, you don't really need to dedicate it to trucks.
No.
You know, you just, if you're driving that type of truck, you know, because you've got an app or your map that says charging mileage coming up, and it's 5 miles, 10 miles, 15 miles this lane.
But you're still going to have to put something on the truck that will be able to pick that up, right?
Cheap, though, because we've got that technology already. You've got it for your cell phone.
Yep.
Okay.
You go into the vehicle I'm driving now,
Right.
and you lay that cell phone down on that thing. It charges.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't matter the make. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, you don't have to plug it in.
Okay.
Nothing.
So
I'm
you
a little bit behind the times.
No,
So
no,
you-
no. It's one of those things that with
It's one of
graphene,
those-
that it's an amazing product, and I've been following this.
We've been following.
Yes,
this a
we.
little
Sorry,
bit.
we've been following this, and what you're able to do with it, and what it could possibly solve throughout the world is mind-boggling. And it happened by accident.
Yeah, because graphene didn't exist prior to 2000.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole new material. So yeah, the possibilities are crazy. So, but we will keep you apprised as this rolls out. But we're hoping that some engineer maybe even hears this and says, you know what, graphene paint conducts electricity, solar electricity for roads with a conductive pickup for trucks, which would be way cheaper than $13.5 million a mile catenary. Hello, somebody. Just saying. 9 minutes. You ready?
9 minutes.
Do it. Third segment. We're going. Welcome to segment 3 of this hour of Roadworthy Drive. I'm glad you could drop by. I'm Ken Chester, your host. For those of you who want or need more than your share of the road, be sure to visit our website. That's www.roadworthydrive.com for all you need or want to know about Roadworthy Drive. We have audio clips of prior shows, video clips of our behind-the-scenes antics and conversations as we produce the show each week, and more. The website's also a great place to find out what we've been up to across the landscape of social media. Sasha is our media maven, and she keeps things entertaining, light, and lively. Find out how she keeps the social in our social media. Now, Tesla. Yeah, it's time. Lot going on, and we're going to start with the bad. We're going to end with the good in these next couple of segments.
Okay, we're going to start with bad news, right?
We are. I've been critical of the company with respect to their ability to meet their aggressive production schedule. I've been in assembly plants of several of the traditional automakers, and there's a process. And that process exists for good reason. The folks at Tesla chose to bypass some of these pre-production methods at their own peril. And may I quote, sleepless nights, broken robots, and mounting pressure. Elon Musk himself gives a rare glimpse inside, and I quote, Tesla's production hell. Yes, ma'am. Here's the thing. Every production line in automotive industry and really in any factory,
Okay.
you have a pilot line And that is with all these parts, and they say in a Model 3, there's 10,000 parts. You may have 2,000 or 3,000 different suppliers. What you do is you have what they call a pilot line. You have a pre-production line where you, low speed, put stuff together to see, one, validation of your equipment. Is everything calibrated the way it needs to be? If not, what's the problem? Does everything go together the way we designed it? You may find in the actual assembly there's some things you didn't think about and go, whoops, they need to be changed. And finally, to find out if at the end it does the vehicle you get at the end, the vehicle you specified.
Mm-hmm.
And they do that. And even the domestics in the foreign have problems sometimes. It's called body in white.
Thank you. I was about to ask you that question.
And, Tesla said, we're going to skip that process. Yeah. That's why he likens the Model 3 production. And bear in mind, people, he said that the Model 3 was easier to build than the Model S and the Model X.
Yes, he did.
The Model X had problems. And the Model S, and that's supposedly more complicated than this car. And they're having all kinds of problems. In Dante's Inferno, part of the 14th century epic poem, hell is portrayed as 9 concentric circles of torment, each with its known nightmarish form of suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Elon Musk says, let's say that level 9's the worst. We're in level 9 now. And now we're in level 8. And I think that we're closer to exiting level 8 now. Here's the problem. The particularities of the company's challenge, many of them engineering problems involving robots and battery packs at their sprawling gigafactory in Nevada, may have been unseen, but the arduous journey in the metaphysical underworld certainly wasn't. He knew it was going to be rough. It always is. But let me tell you about automobile manufacturing, because I've seen a lot of it. A lot of that could have been minimized at their gigafactory in Fremont with body in white. You ramp up slowly. You eliminate the problems as you get them. You usually have your suppliers there, particularly with your equipment. Your suppliers and their engineers are on site in real time.
Right.
Dealing with this stuff. You're not trying to basically troubleshoot it yourself.
Or make a phone call.
No, they're there. There's no phone call. They're there. In body in white, they're there.
I understand that, but Elon Musk decided not to do that, so is he making phone calls back to, if he's got a problem with the robot supplier?
I'm not seeing that. But let me give you an example. In the third quarter, they were expected to build 1,500 Model 3s. How many do you think they built?
10.
No.
260.
Oh.
Yeah, they're a little short. And I can tell you where the main bottleneck is.
Where is it?
The body shop. Every production line, any production engineer knows, your throughput or the amount that you can make and run through that line is only as many as your choke point can take.
And the choke point is the body shop.
Is the body shop.
Well, didn't you report like a couple weeks ago that they were doing it by hand?
At that time they were. Why? Because they didn't get their automated equipment until late. And it takes to get it set up, calibrated, run jobs through it, calibrate it again, and actually get some time on it. That takes a few months. There's no shortcutting. The problem is Elon Musk's line is highly automated. That's the blessing. That's the curse. And if your equipment ain't communicating, GM had a problem like that when they opened their plant, their Hamtramck plant in Detroit in 1985 in their paint shop. Their paint robots wouldn't talk to each other, and it was a mess. It was just a nightmare. And this is a company that's built millions of vehicles. This guy is trying to go from boutique manufacturer to volume manufacturer. And these are some of the problems.
And there really isn't any room for error here.
Exactly. But people are sticking with them, and that's kind of crazy. Continuing on, the Chevy Bolt with a B, that against the 425,000 orders that Elon Musk had for the Model 3.
Yeah.
And there were no pre-orders for the Bolt. Yeah. Last month, in October, 145 Model 3s were sold. 2,781 Chevy Bolts were sold.
Because GM has their stuff together.
Yes, sir. They do. And, may I add that those bolts made in that plant, I know where that plant is, all of them are equipped to be fully autonomous.
Okay, so
Let that sink in.
so GM is moving ahead with their autonomous stuff.
Well, the Bolt was designed to be autonomous.
Okay.
The problem is GM's got the basics down. So all they had to do was add the technology.
Okay.
Elon Musk is trying to cover all of it, including the basics and the technology,
Right.
and he's having a problem. And that's the thing. We've been critical here at RoadWorthy Drive for some time about this. So no big deal. Late breaking news here. Remember, we talked about a year ago, Elon Musk announced that all cars built after October 2016 had the ability to be fully autonomous.
Right.
The company announced its new vehicles had all the hardware, but there's to achieve full autonomy with the current software. The question is regulatory. If the regulators have a different definition than what Tesla's got programmed, then they will upgrade them. So they have the ability to put the upgrade out. But here's the way it goes, and this is really interesting. For a company that prides itself with over-the-air updates, and I quote, "We will replace the computer. It's just a matter of unplug the old computer and plug the new one in. It will be a hands-on replacement."
So you're going to have to go to a dealer or somebody to get this done.
Yeah, no over-the-air update, even though, and their whole thing is, what we assumed at the time, as opposed to what the regulators may assume now, may be different. And if it is, we'll program for it. Oh, well. When we come back for the fourth and final segment of RoadWorthy Drive, Tesla introduces its electric semi-truck and surprises with an all-new Roadster for 2020 to boot. This is RoadWorthy Drive.
This is RoadWorthy Drive.
Now, you had said with the Bolt with a B, okay?
It's
Wasn't
an
there?
ugly little thing.
Yeah, it is. It's just.
I got
hideous.
no love for it. I'm sorry.
I would not.
But you know what?
no.
Built right, available now.
Don't. Yeah, no.
Built right, available now.
Doesn't-
Any Chevy dealer.
I wish.
Walk into the Chevy dealer, put
No.
your money down. You can
No.
drive out with a Bolt.
I'm
Go
sorry.
to a Tesla dealer,
No.
look for a Model 3, get told, sorry.
No, I'm just no. There's nothing that you could pay me enough to be seen. No. Anyway, my point is.
Mm-hmm.
With the Bolt, didn't you just do a story on the fact that, and I don't think it was here in the U.S., but they did an entire fleet of vehicles for like,
Manhattan.
oh, okay, so that was here in the U.S. and they
In
did
New York.
in New York.
Yes.
Okay,
They're getting ready to use the evaluation under New York's 1-year autonomous evaluation law to release a fleet of these in Manhattan. But go back 2 years. GM told the public, and we reported it here, that was how they were going to introduce autonomous vehicles to the masses with the Bolt in fleet, typically through Maven, Lyft, and maybe even Uber.
right. But
That's
here's
exactly the plan, and GM is following the plan.
here's my thing.
Yeah.
That's bold and adventurous just on its own because we're not talking about sunny Arizona,
Exactly.
where it's all nice and peachy
Did I
keen.
mention that the president of General Motors is a lady engineer?
We're talking about
She's
New
bold.
York City
Yeah.
with rain
Yeah.
and snow
Yeah.
and sleet
Yeah.
and peoples
Yes.
and more peoples
Yes.
and peoples with bikes and dogs and
Cruise automation.
rats the size of, small dogs. Peoples.
Cruise automation that GM paid $1 billion for.
I know, but I mean, do you understand? It still flips my mind out that, here they
Cadillac
are.
launched Super Cruise from New York City.
Right.
Audi did an experiment on their vehicle in New York.
Okay, but there's a difference between they do their experiment and unleashing it on the public in Manhattan.
In a test basis. Translation, there will be an engineer in the car.
Right.
Yeah. So if you're gonna validate this stuff, you gotta go and get ugly.
Yeah.
The question is, I want to see him evaluate these in Maine and see how they do with the moose.
No.
Yeah, in the woods.
I just
We're
want.
not going there.
What? I'm just being real right now.
Yeah.
In Maine, where there are a lot of moose, I was just in Massachusetts. I was coming through the Berkshires, 19 miles of moose crossing signs. One sign for bear, a lot of sign for deer. Just saying. Musto.
Hey, look.
Musto.
All I'm saying is I still want I still want an explanation, and I can't wait to see the videos of these little bolts going around, you know, and I almost see it like the Bee movie, like that one scene where like they're all going in different directions and he just walks right through traffic and it just
Oh,
they just
the
keep
State
going.
Farm commercial.
No, the Bee movie.
Yeah, well, yeah, and the State Farm commercial has it where this kid's riding a bike through a busy intersection. Everybody's going around him. Nobody's stopping. Nobody's hitting anything.
Right.
It's crazy. And what's scary, that's the future, people. That's where we're going.
I have a short story.
Really quick.
Yeah.
Really quick. We got to get
Okay, so
really quick.
yes. So I was on the interstate the other day, and I was heading to my destination, and I just had my normal radio volume on, and I happened to look in my rearview mirror, and there's people like swerving, like getting over, and then there's people in the far right lane trying to swerve because people in the middle lane are trying to get over to the left, and behind them was a trooper with his lights going on. So everybody's trying, you know, to obey the law. They're trying to get over to the right, you know, to pull over. So that way this trooper who is in the far left lane can get through. And, of course, I couldn't get through. The semi in front of me almost ran some lady off the road, but this trooper was actually causing more of an issue trying to get through as everybody was trying to go over, you know, at 65 miles an hour. And it dawned on me that when autonomous vehicles come, we wouldn't need that. Even if our vehicles would talk to each other and say, hey, there's an emergency vehicle coming.
Vehicle-to-vehicle communication.
I know.
Vehicle-to-grid communication.
Yeah.
Vehicle-to-infrastructure communication, and vehicle-to-anything communication. Those standards are evolving and being set as we speak.
And all fall under the Internet of Things.
Yep.
In a way, yes, and subject to the regulation of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Right.
Enough said. 8 minutes, 50 seconds.
Yes, and thank you for not making me get up on my high horse.
Oh, mercy. I'm going to leave alone. I'm not even going to try. Ready when you are, sir.
Okay, hang on. Here we go. By the way, folks, I'm kidding.
No, he's not.
It's not.
I heard that.
What?
What?
This is the last segment for this hour of Roadworthy Drive. I'm Ken Chester. Thank you so much for listening. We're in the midst of a conversation about all things Tesla. While the upstart automaker has and is having its share of problems ramping up production, its all-new affordable sedan, it hasn't stopped Elon Musk from wowing the public with some new groundbreaking hardware. And we're going to talk about that in this last segment. Now, you've probably, unless you've lived under a rock for the last few weeks, you've probably heard some commotion about a Tesla semi-truck. And just so a little reality check, yes, you heard it. Yes, it's true. Elon Musk showed the public a all-electric Tesla 18-wheeler.
I saw the video on YouTube
I'm sorry.
and went, what in the world is this? And then he gets out of the truck, and the truck door is literally backwards.
Yeah.
And he just, like, he steps out like of the old Chevy step vans.
Yeah.
And he gets out there and he starts talking about, oh, how great this is going to be and how much we're going to improve the environment.
Okay, let's break this down. He's bragging of this thing. 500 miles per charge. 0 to 60, this is for an 18-wheeler now, which scares the daylights out of me in 5 seconds.
Woo!
Yeah, no. I don't need no 18-wheeler rolling like that.
Now, is he saying that's not with a trailer on it or with a trailer loaded?
Okay, thank you. That was going to be my...
Regardless, it gives me the woolies.
I mean, there are supercharged, you know, semis that...
Give the brother the willies. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine a full, like what you were going with that, Jack. I couldn't imagine a fully loaded...
I'm sorry, 40,000 pounds back in the trailer. I mean, you're going to have that semi-trailer out of the out of the fifth wheel.
Well, not only that, but I mean, when you're actually driving one of those and, you know, you're going
The
back
load
up
may
and-
shift
Yeah, I mean, you...
You think?
just a bit. But here's the thing. The thing about electric motors is you have all of its torque from zero. Unlike a gasoline engine or even a diesel engine where you have to accelerate and get engine speed up to get the power.
Right.
So there's some advantages to that. And what most people don't realize, and I've said it over and over because I was kind of a train buff first, your average railroad locomotive today is a hybrid, is a diesel-electric hybrid. That what pulls the weight is not a diesel engine. It's a series of 2 or 3 traction motors.
Right. But again, those things do not go from 0 to 60 in a nanosecond.
Yeah, but they're also pulling thousands of tons, not 10 or 20 tons, usually 1,500, 3,500, 4,500 tons. And usually a line of cars that may last a mile long. And then there's a whole set of protocol about brakes and all of that before they can even move the thing. But
Right.
I won't even get into that. But here's the thing. Now, he said, and he didn't mention the payload because that's something that I looked at and I wondered about. A fully loaded, and I don't know what that means.
Okay, so
Okay.
he didn't put on like
A
a
weight.
weight. Okay,
He said fully loaded.
all right.
To me, with the people I know that drive truck,
Right.
you're probably looking between 20 and 40 tons.
Okay,
Okay? But I don't know what he meant.
okay,
Moving 60 miles an hour
all right.
can travel 500 miles on a single battery charge. Now, he argues that the vast majority of truck routes are less than 250 miles. But here's something really cool. The truck includes 4 independent motors. It has no gears or transmission, meaning it will require much less maintenance. Yeah, again, I have friends of mine that drive truck. Yeah, they tell horror stories about
Yes,
truck
they do.
transmissions. We're not even going to get into that. Just crazy stuff.
Yep.
He guaranteed, now he even went this far, he guaranteed that the truck would not break down for 1,000,000 miles. Now, to the average listener, that sounds big deal.
Yeah, but not.
It's
in the
not.
trucking
No.
industry.
Well, in the way, really, it's twice as long as a diesel engine. You don't do an in-truck overhaul until you have 500,000 miles.
Okay.
So if you can get 1,000,000 miles without any kind of major maintenance, right there, even fuel aside, maintenance aside, all that aside, that is major. Because if the truck ain't down, the truck is earning, or
Yep.
has the ability to earn.
Correct.
And that's the kicker. Now, he also said trucks could reach up to 65 miles an hour, up a 5% grade, compared to 45 miles an hour with a diesel engine truck. Again, I've just come across the country, took on some of those fully loaded trucks climbing rather nasty grades.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you can do time. If you can get an extra 20 miles per hour in a hilly situation, that's money.
Okay, and this just dawned on me. When we're talking about the autonomous future, right? And we're talking about cars, pedestrian cars, okay, driving themselves. The one slowpoke on the road would be the semi-tractor trailer. With his, if it actually does do what he's claiming it could do, now it's not going to be so much of an endangerment when you come across a semi. Because now there's...
Well, I'm going to give you one more, and we've talked about this before, about autonomous semis running in platoon at night at high speed where literally parts of the interstate might even be unavailable.
Right, because that's all that's moving.
Yeah, but if you're running that way, then you're probably like less than a half a car length or less of a truck cab because you're running platooning and you're running all autonomous. So I think that there's more coming to that.
Okay.
That it becomes a non-issue.
Right.
But here's the thing. Elon ain't alone. The list of startups and trucking heavyweights testing electric truck programs include Siemens, Nikola One, Toyota, Changi, we talked about them before, Volvo, Scandia, UPS, FedEx,
Yep.
Cummins, Daimler, and TransPower. Okay? In fact, FedEx even has some sort of electric truck they're evaluating right now in their fleet.
Yeah. I remember us
So,
talking about that one.
Yes, sir. Let me throw this, and then Toyota's thing with the hydrogen truck. Now, Neola One, we talked about them a long time ago.
Right.
They are promising 1,200 miles of range from its hydrogen fuel tank, hydrogen-powered fuel cell in their 18-wheelers. That's going to be really tough to beat when Elon's only talking 500 miles.
That's true.
And we don't know under what conditions and what he's defining as a fully loaded truck.
Okay, but can I put a plug in here? You need to have 1,200 miles to get to the next charging station.
Yeah, but but here's the thing: easily built in truck centers. If you're a trucking company, that's the easy part. That's not hard.
Okay.
So that's the thing. Changing gears, literally. He also showed us a very pretty concept for a
yes, it
Roadster.
was.
Now,
Yes, it was.
that Roadster launched the company back in the day.
Yes, it
That's
did.
what they did.
Yep.
He's showing one that should have a range. He said he could do it, travel back from San Francisco to Los Angeles on a single charge and go to 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds.
Okay, so you've made that trip. What kind of mileage is that there, Ken?
A lot of mileage.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that. As usual, we've come to the end of another hour with more to share than I have time. Be sure to tune in next time when we'll have the latest on what is going on in and around the auto industry and, importantly, what you need to know. You've been listening to Roadworthy Drive.
Roadworthy Drive with Ken Chester is a copyrighted presentation of the Roadworthy Drive Radio Network. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or any other use is prohibited without the written consent of the Motor News Media Corporation.
I was.
Oh, would
Hit
you
them
quit
times.
that?
Hit them times. I'm just saying. Yeah, the Tesla Roadster, L.A. to San Francisco is, I'm guessing, goodness, if they're talking and back on a single charge, that would be at least 600 miles.
At least.
Mm-hmm. Now they're talking about they had made it from 2008 to 2012. The latest version would be available to consumers in 2020. Elon Musk's words. The point of doing this is to give a hardcore smackdown to gasoline cars. That's straight from Elon Musk, people. Got this thing against gasoline cars. But again, 620 miles, no big deal. Remember, we talked about German engineers who developed a lithium-ion battery pack that had a range of 650 miles that would fit in a Tesla Model S. And to my knowledge, we're one of the few that reported that. So it's coming, people. So on that note, Tesla and all the rest, until next time, on behalf of Jack, Sasha, myself, thank you for watching Roadworthy Drive on YouTube Live. See you next time.
See ya.